So as we've just seen, we're hardwired to follow the rules no matter how ridiculous. And as Saul's just shown us, nobody gets you to follow the rules quite like a person in a uniform. So that got us thinking, would a person get a different level of respect based entirely on what he wears? We set up hidden cameras in this barbecue restaurant. We want to see if people will be compelled to respond to another unusual request. Will they give up their table to someone just because he's wearing a uniform? Bill, an actor, is going to help us out with this experiment.
Okay, I'm about to go in to Cubby's Barbecue right now, dressed as I am now. I don't know if anybody's going to give up their table, but I'm going to ask for it. I wouldn't give it up to me. We'll see what happens.
Will his visual cues impress anybody?
Could I have your table? No. I can't have your table?
No. See right there. That one over there.
Yeah, but I really like this table here.
You want to sit in our table, Nene?
Can I have your table?
No.
No one gave up their table to a guy in a plain old t-shirt. Nothing motivated them to abandon common sense.
Yeah, can I have your table?
No, I don't think so.
But how different are things when the very same actor comes in dressed as a cop?
Who wouldn't give up their table for a police officer? I would. Hi, can I have this table? You sure? Thank you. Hi, may I have this table?
Sure.
Thanks. How come you're so nice?
If you're a policeman, what am I going to say? No?
No surprise there. In fact, a recent study at Vanderbilt University showed people are twice as likely to obey a man in a police uniform in almost any situation. Why are people so quick to obey? Your brain has evolved shortcuts to make decisions. See a uniform, do as you're told. But will other uniforms also cause customers to abandon their senses?
Hey, could I have your booth?
Yeah, I'm fireman.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks.
How about a chef?
Hi, may I have your table?
Are you serious? Take that table.
Even a janitor?
Excuse me, can I have your table?
He's fighting it. He's fighting it.
No, really.
But, oh, the visual cue is too hard to resist.
Okay.
Bottom line, people will agree to a request from someone in just about any uniform. Our brain receives the signal, and we comply.
This is going to be kind of crazy.
People want to conform so much, their brains can get them to do almost anything.
That's what we're supposed to do?
Don't ask me why, but...
And even rush out of a room.
What the...
For no good reason.
my heart's still beating like really fast.
Riddle me this, TV viewer. Who's the nonconformist in this crowd? Easy answer? No, because it's a trick question. But more often than not, we may just be picking another group to conform to. So, exactly why do we copy each other? Let's play some head games and find out. First up, a round of Simon Says on steroids. Nathan DeWall is setting up an experiment using a group of actors. In a minute, Nathan will bring in a subject who thinks he's here to test new products. What he doesn't know is we're testing him.
All right, so we're going to try to get our Mark, who's going to be sitting right over there, to follow your behavior. Now, they're not going to know what's going on.
Will our subject copy what these actors do? Unconsciously? The chairs in this waiting room have been arranged to increase the pressure of the group. Our undercover acting troupe comes in with the first subject, the guy in green. If everyone in the group makes a small gesture, will he do it too?
This is going to be kind of crazy, but we think that this is going to work.
We'll start small, a little scratch to the nose. One actor does it. Another actor does it. Will Mr. Green Jacket do it? Yes, he will.
We're creating a contagious environment where one behavior starts and it just sort of goes from person to person to person.
And it happened again and again. When our actors crossed their arms, so did our subject.
Perfect.
So what's going on here? What's happening in the brain during experiments like ours?
The cingulate gyrus. This is newer. from an evolutionary perspective. What it does is it helps us pay attention and monitor changes in our environment. It's like the brain's alarm clock.
It's like a siren in your brain saying, heads up, time to fit in.
Although a lot of times people think social rejection isn't that big of a deal, for our evolutionary ancestors, this was a death sentence. Being alone meant that you were not safe, that you couldn't survive, and you definitely couldn't pass your genes on to future generations.
Now, see what happens when we take our experiment one step further. We call this head game Pavlov's Bell, in honor of the Nobel Prize-winning physiologist. In the early 1900s, Pavlov used dogs to study involuntary reflex actions. Every time he fed them, he'd ring a bell. Soon enough, the dogs would salivate any time a bell went off, whether or not they were fed.
We're gonna have participants respond to a bell, just like Pavlov's dogs. We're gonna condition our subject to stand up and to sit down when they hear the bell ring.
Stand and sit at the sound of a bell? Surely we're more evolved than the neighborhood beagle. Well, let's see what happens when we throw this guy to the dogs. No one told him about a bell. No one told him to do anything, bell or not. But when our acting troupe stands, our subject's brain chimes in.
I don't recall them ever telling us to stand up at beeps.
But he's going along with it anyway. He just figures the group knows something he doesn't.
This is really where the ventral striatum kicks in, the pleasure or reward center of the brain.
And even when we started pulling actors out of the room for product testing, it didn't stop our subjects from obeying the bell.
Glad I jog a lot because always sitting and standing is crazy.
What's really going to be telling is what happens when none of the other group members are there. This is really the moment of truth, to see if our conditioning has really set in.
Amazing. All alone, and he still conforms to the group.
So our subject did exactly what we thought he was going to do.
Now, finally, we'll add in a new person.
How you doing? I'm Dave.
Chad,
Good to meet you.
everybody's gone.
We're going to see if our subject becomes a teacher.
Every time it beeps, you have to just stand up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Incredible. It's actually the way entire cultures are passed down.
That's what we're supposed to do?
Yeah. And then it's gonna beep again till we sit down. Don't ask me why, but
Now he's teaching a new person.
Follow your lead.
yeah.
It's Conformity 101, and their brains have been schooled.
I was trying to be part of the group, so I didn't want to be the odd person out.
Up next, you won't believe what a handful of cells can make you do. And how they'll twist the way you feel. Okay, so here's one of our favorite experiments. It's called the Goldberg variation. You can play along. If you're right-handed, take off your right shoe and place it on your head. If you're left-handed, do the same thing with your left shoe. Go ahead, we'll wait. Okay, now we have to ask. Why did you put your shoe on your head? Just because your TV told you to? We're instinctive copycats, and for a really good reason. Survival. Now, let's see exactly how this copycat thing works. On you. Are you yawning? Did you just smile? So what's going on in that head of yours? Deep in the brain's premotor cortex, we've got special cells known as mirror neurons. Why mirror? Because every time we see someone act, these neurons fire. Mentally mimicking the same movements. Now here's the really freaky part. It doesn't just copy the moves, it takes on the emotion too. Feeling thirsty? You can count on it. So do advertisers who make millions each year by stimulating your mirror neuron. It's clear that our ability to empathize, to feel what others are feeling, is wired into us at the cellular level. We're going to push your mirror neurons right to the edge with master magician Matthew Holtzclaw.
Today we're going to walk around the park and introduce ourselves to people and then do some magic tricks, but also do a few things that might challenge their senses, their perceptions, possibly even their nerve endings.
This couple just thinks they're watching regular card tricks, but Matt has something more devious in mind.
I want to show you something. You get to limber yourself up. You can do these things where if you have like a kind of more flexible finger than others, you can bend it further back. Like that. See that? Hurts like hell, but right. That hurt, right? That was crazy. How'd that feel to watch that? Not so good.
I like that.
Feel that? Those are your mirror neurons at work.
Through mirror neurons, we are able to give the audience the sense of feeling what we're feeling. It is based entirely on empathy.
Think about when you watch a horror movie. What are you feeling? Those are your mirror neurons on hyperdrive. Studies show they're why viewers connect so strongly with on-screen emotions. Well, now Matt's going to amp things up with something horrific of his own.
There's a paper clip. If you have a nice sharp needle, again, it's easier. It's not so much of a magic trick as it is kind of just about pain. Just stay with me. Well, that looks all right from there, right? It looks way better this way. Oh, yeah. It's kind of nasty. You can see it's kind of stuck in there pretty deep. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to assume it, I mean, you can see from that side, you can see where it's going in there? Yeah. See that? It's pretty nasty, right? Well, here's what to do. I'm going to pull it right out. You can have a look at it, make sure it's not like a rigged thing. It's not like there's no hole here or anything like that, right? There's no like anything like that.
Nothing.
How'd that feel to watch that?
Painful.
Painful.
The reason you're wincing, like our subject, is because your brain just experienced the pain Matthew would have felt if he wasn't a master illusionist.
I just thought about it going in my arm. I was
You
like,
thought about it
no
going in
way.
your arm?
Yeah.
When I was doing it, you could feel it pushing through?
Now Matt's gonna really push things to the limit, using his own face. What could be scarier? Turns out that mirror neurons are most intensely activated by facial expressions.
I'm going to show you one more thing. Just a piece of thread, yes, sir. See it? Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
How are you feeling? Covering your eyes yet? It's just a trick. No need to feel squeamish. But you can't help it. You're only human.
Slide through.
Oh. I want you to have
I don't
that.
really want to have
You
it.
don't want that.
And we are all hardwired the same way.
Thank you, darling.
Even if you'd rather not be. But what happens when you